Hi there, it's Moira McDonald. Hopefully I'm straight, and by that I mean straight in the shot. I don't know, because it's my camera's set up in a different fashion for normal. I just thought I'd pop on and say hello, because it's been a while, and ask everybody how they're managing. Obviously, in terms of what's going on at the moment with COVID-19, coronavirus, whatever you want to call it, probably depending on what part of the world you're in, you're maybe more impacted by this than others. Speaking personally here in Hamilton, Scotland, it's sorry, that was squinting, it was annoying me because I'm OCD. It's there's been the way the stats get listed in Scotland, they list them in relation to not so much local authorities, because the local authority I live in is called South Lanarkshire, but they list Lanarkshire overall, which includes North and South Lanarkshire. Now, North and South Lanarkshire is a fairly large area, so I can't remember, but I think yesterday when I looked, there was certainly over 200 cases had been registered to those areas. But having said that, in terms of testing, that really thorny subject of testing, I don't think there is a phenomenal amount of testing going on in Britain overall. And Scotland, initially, the testing, as far as I was aware, was only people who had already been admitted to hospital. So beyond that, I don't know, because there's every day you watch the news and every day they basically say the same thing. And the problem is the news itself. I can understand how Donald Trump gets away with referring to news as being fake news, because invariably, because realistically there truly isn't an awful lot happening on a day-to-day basis, it would appear. So it's what kind of doom and gloom spin can they put on things more often than not, or not even so much doom and gloom, because there's very little getting said that's in any fashion making you feel positive, especially when you're like me and you're kind of anxious as it is. So I don't, hold on, I'm going to adjust this because I think I'm kind of high up. That might be a wee bit better. Oops, might even be a wee bit straighter now. So the news, I find Sky News is particularly bad for it, trying to make everything sound as completely and utterly hopeless as is feasible to do. I don't know if they're trying to win news awards for the fashion in which these things are being told to us. BBC isn't quite as bad. Having said that, I mean, like I say, you get the same. They have 24-hour news channels which regurgitate pretty much the same information day in, day out, but periodically they feel compelled to tell you it's breaking news, but the reality is it's no different from what they told you maybe about 4 hours earlier. But anyway, that's a wee gripe. That's mine more, and there's no point in prattling on about the news itself. In terms of the sheer practicalities of how things are going, shopping was it was really pretty traumatic. You're trying desperately to keep away from folk, obviously, and as time has passed, shops have got a wee bit better in terms of trying to ensure that happens, some more so than others. Then of course there's the issue of actual stocks in the shops, which initially was absolutely awful. I know personally I'm not the sort of person that, I've never really stockpiled. I'm one of these folk that doesn't, generally speaking, doesn't run out of stuff, but that doesn't mean to say that I'm sitting with thousands of things in the house. Certainly I don't have thousands of toilet rolls, I'll tell you that. I mean, there's 4 adults in this house, and we have 2 toilets, so that's luxury, believe you me, because I know that. So we go through toilet rolls. I usually would buy let me think, I think it's an 18 pack we normally get each week, and of course as luck would have it, everybody went mad. I've got to assume everybody was pooping their pants, and consequently they bought the toilet rolls. And we were continually told on the news that the supermarkets were claiming that there wasn't an issue with supply. And I felt saying, see, if there's not an issue with supply, why is there nothing in the shops? So the toilet rolls went really quickly. Pasta, I don't eat a lot of pasta, so it wasn't a big deal to me, to be fair. Pasta went really quickly. Every feasible sauce you could put in a pasta went quickly, and obviously rice itself, although not things like Uncle Ben's rice and the supermarket's own, you know, the wee bags of rice that you'll maybe get that serves two, excuse me, and you know, you just heat it up in the microwave or whatever. They didn't go, there was plenty of them in the shops, but of course they're a wee bit more expensive, so you know, folk were no daft, folk were buying the cheaper stuff first. In terms of actual fresh meat and things like that, I think they really got hammered good style as well, you know, so things like chicken and stews and mince and whatever, they all went. There was at one point quite a lot of lamb in the shop, but then lamb's really expensive. So again, you know, if it's dear, don't buy it. You know, but even like frozen foods, you know, the kind of ready meals and things like that, they were getting hammered as well. Pizzas were going like Laldi. Things were just flying off at the shops. So when you did get into a shop, there was very little left to buy. Even a lot of tinned goods obviously went as well. Although there's no been an issue with Heinz baked beans. Heinz baked beans, there must be millions of Heinz baked beans in the world, and the shops are still getting them. So there's never an issue. You can always get a bean. And technically you could live in beans. I didn't notice a major issue with things like bread. Milk, actual fresh milk, wasn't an issue. Ironically, we always drank UHT milk, and that was a hangover from when, you know, I'm talking years ago before I got married. I used to live on my own, and I did literally, because I was at work and I'd only go shopping once a week, so I tended to buy UHT milk. Now I drink milk with every meal, so I go through a lot of milk, and I always have done. And I drink, because I went on a diet years and years ago, and one of the things I cut out was all the fats, so I went from drinking semi-skim milk to skim milk. So I always bought UHT skim milk, and of course this is one of these things you can't get for love nor money. But having said that, actual fresh milk is not an issue, and the good thing is skimmed milk, because there's such a low fat content, is it's got a reasonable shelf life. The only problem is there are now restrictions on what you can buy. You can only buy 3 of certain items, or 3 of most items in the majority of the supermarkets, and that can be kind of silly. My husband eats those chocolate covered rice cakes, and I'd picked up 4 packets when I was in Morrison's a couple of weeks ago, and got to the till, and the lassie said, "Oh, I'm really sorry, you can only buy 3 of them." And I felt like saying, they're hardly a staple. I don't imagine, you know, there's going to be a rush on these, but I thought, well, fair enough, if that's the rules you've made, that's the rules. It's not that big a deal. So in terms of a lot of stuff, you can only get 3 of things. So if you were buying, at one point it was a case of, if you were buying actual fresh meat, you know, like you wanted chicken, you wanted mince, you wanted stew, and maybe you wanted lamb as well, you could only get 3 of those things. So you could get maybe your chicken, your mince and your lamb, but don't take the stew, because you can only get 3 things. So, you know, but if you're shopping from week to week, and ideally have a wee bit of freezer space, you can cope. But the problem is, it's can you shop week to week? And for some folk, I know personally here, our supermarket is, I think it's something like 1.3 miles away from the house. So you're talking, if you were buying a lot of shopping to bring back, you really do need a vehicle, because I personally couldn't carry the amount of stuff we buy that distance. So you need a vehicle, and I think there's quite a number of folk that are in the same position in that respect. So, you know, for me personally, it's not been unworkable. It's been difficult, and it's not been overly pleasant, I have to say, you know, because I find it quite stressful. I find it quite stressful trying to remember, or even when I take a list, invariably there's always something you miss for your list, but even if you take a list, it's quite difficult to actually get an entire week's worth in one go, especially when you're talking like 4 adults. Because let's face it, it's me and 3 men, and 3 men are not prepared to make a lot of sacrifices in life, I've found. My husband drinks Diet Pepsi, as we would say here, to a band playing, which just effectively means, you know, he could drink it in time with music. So he'll go through 2 2-litre bottles and a 24 pack of cans in the space of maybe 3 or 4 days. So that's a lot for me to have to try and halve, and I certainly couldn't buy that amount in one go because it's very difficult to get that and all your shopping out into the car. So effectively, they tell you can, we've got our lockdown, and the lockdown rules are you can go out for essential food and medicines, and you can go out for 1 bit of exercise a day. If you've got a dog, obviously take the dog when you go for the exercise. Obviously I need to walk Daisy, and my brother walks Tinny. Unfortunately we lost Chip a couple of weeks ago. I had to deal with that, which wasn't particularly pleasant, but you know, it was in the heart of all this. So I miss Chipple Chops. And you know, we've adjusted to what we've got to do. Where else? So my shopping, technically you could go out every day if you wanted to, for essentials. So if you needed to shop on a day-to-day basis, who would need to shop on a day-to-day basis? I don't know. I don't. I find I'm going out twice a week to shops. I go out on a Wednesday, and I'll probably go out on a Saturday morning. The Wednesday, Sainsbury's supermarket have introduced, I think most of the supermarkets have introduced an hour for elderly and vulnerable customers. I do not fall into the elderly category. Smugly, she said. It's for people over 70 and people who are vulnerable. Now, my husband is vulnerable. My husband has had his letter from the Scottish Government telling him effectively he has to sit in the house for the next 12 weeks. Not only is he to sit in the house for 12 weeks, but effectively he should really minimise his contact with the rest of the family. He shouldn't be sleeping with anyone. Now, we don't have a spare room, so unless I want to lie on the floor in the kitchen or the back room, I am sleeping in my man's bed, and I don't think my man wants me to get out of bed either. You know, that in itself obviously lets you know what the government's thoughts are in terms of cocooning people that are at greater risk than anybody else. Excuse me. So Eric, obviously he can't go out. My brother is over 70, so falls into the, you know, elderly vulnerable category, and for me to get access to the shops in the elderly shopping hour, I need to go with him. So he comes with me on the Wednesday. This was the first week he did it. I went myself the week before, and I just went in at normal time. But the problem is you're finding yourself in a queue. I dare say the queuing thing, I reckon it will die down, because folk will realise you can. There is now sufficient stock in the shops here that you do not need to go at the crack of dawn for the 8 toilet roll packets that they're getting in. You know, they've got that much in terms of things that had been in the kind of can I get category, that there isn't really a need to rush around at the crack of dawn to get to shops anymore. You can go around at a later point. You might still need to queue because they're limiting how many folk can go in and out of the shop at any given time. Speaking of which, I went to Morrison's last Saturday, Morrison's supermarket, and it was really, I mean, I could laugh at it although it honestly, it didn't feel funny at the time. Right, number one, you had to queue, and the queue was quite substantial when we first got there, because at this point Billy hadn't heard his letter and he didn't realise that he was literally not going to go over the door. So he had driven me around. So he stayed in the car and I got out, went with my wee trolley and queued up, 2 metres apart for everybody. And when you're trying to visualise what 2 metres between you looks like, someone here described it as, imagine a dead relative lying between you. And that's quite harsh, but the bottom line is that's what it's like. So anyway, we went and we queued up, or I queued up, should I say. So you get a chance to, you know, make friends with folk you don't know for Adam that are 2 metres at your back that you end up having a conversation with as you're shouting to them. Anyway, gets into the shop, and they have employed so many people to do the home shopping facility, you know, like, so folk will be able to place an order online and folk in the shop will pack it and then it'll get sent out in a van to them. They've employed so many people that it just made an absolute farce of queuing up, because you can't get round the shop for staff. There are so many staff in there. I went into the toilet roll aisle just for, you know, as luck would have it, because it's also the aisle where they keep cleaning products. I was going to buy some Flash or whatever to scoot around everything, and there was 4 members of staff, and the thing is, they all go in with massive trolleys to stock up, because they'll be doing 2 or 3 folks shopping in one go. So this aisle was absolutely jumping, and I thought, I can't go into that. So I ended up had to walk round to the, you know, go up the next aisle to avoid them. And I ended up, I didn't get in that aisle, because there were that many of them. They were just having a conversation with each other as they were doing it. And it's very, I'm not for an instant am I saying, don't talk to your colleagues. But it strikes me as something that just hasn't been thought out. A facility like that, which is wonderful for folk that need it, are vulnerable and can't get out at all and have no other options. You know, have folk doing the home shop for you, but maybe not have them all doing it at the same point as you've actually got customers in the shop. See if they had these folk on a night shift and all these things were all bagged up, ready to be taken out at the crack of dawn, they could probably service a lot more customers doing it that way than having folk crowding the shop at the same time as, you know, we're letting in 8 customers, but, you know, fight your way through the 300 staff we've got in the aisle. And of course, obviously, when you get to the checkout, well, that's another thing. They've got wee arrows to point you in what direction to go, and that would be fine if the staff that were coordinating you to go down the direction of the wee arrows had a brain. But they directed everybody, I don't know why, they directed a number of people in the wrong way. So they were literally walking past folk that were already queuing up. So it was, it genuinely didn't go very well, and that was only in Morrison's. It didn't happen in Sainsbury's. Sainsbury's seemed to have worked a bit better, plus I would say Sainsbury's aisles are wider than Morrison's aisles. I think come the end of this, a number of supermarket chains really need to look at the way they actually fill their shop, because some of them clearly have too many items in too small a space. And it doesn't work when you've got an issue like this. I mean, obviously issues like this is the only time in my lifetime that anything like this has happened, but this has really, it's shown up idiots, quite frankly. It's something that's really been very, very badly handled, and I don't think they're struggling so much that you know, they can't stop to think, no wait a minute, we're maybe not doing this right, maybe we should think again. I don't know who it is that came up with all the plans for the way our Morrison's is working, and presumably they're not all the same, but ours is really, I'm sorry, it's crap. There's no ifs or buts. It really isn't very well handled. And the annoying thing is their supply chain clearly is a lot better than Sainsbury's. So somebody at Morrison's must know what they're doing. It's just that in that particular store they don't. So it leaves you in the situation where you think, you know, where will I shop? I can go to the shop where I know there's a range of things that I'll definitely get that I'm looking for, but the problem is I'll be falling over folk to do it. or do I go into the shop where I might come out and not have everything I want and end up having to maybe look at somewhere else anyway. The other thing, we've got a frozen food shop, Iceland, and it seems to be really good. Iceland is not, it's not stowed out, it's not dead busy, and it has plenty stock of frozen foods, and it has some, you know, basic home goods. The other thing is, when there was a real issue getting toilet rolls in the supermarkets here, you could get toilet rolls absolutely no bother at all in a wee shop called Home Bargains, presumably B&M Bargains as well. Now these are shops that sell an assortment of all sorts of things at generally discount prices. They don't do actual food, they'll do a lot of tinned goods, they'll do a lot of cleaning products and things like that. And in that respect they've been able to stay open, because anything else, any other shop is meant to be shut. It's only meant to be shops that supply foods and medicines. So anyway, B&M and Home Bargains have been able to stay open, and they have been the toilet roll saviours until the toilet rolls came back into the supermarket. Hand soap is still a very big issue, and not so much bars of soap. You can get a bar of soap, no bother, I think, but you can't get, most folk these days use hand wash here, so hand wash is at a premium. Now having said that, yesterday I had to go for medicines, and you can no longer actually go into a doctor to put your repeat prescription in. You phone in your repeat prescription. Well, you could phone in your repeat prescription before, but now you definitely need to, because you cannot go in physically to the doctors. The doctors is locked. They're there, and I think they take calls if you're ill, and have a telephone conversation with you, and perhaps make arrangements to see if it's something that physically needs to be looked at. I don't know, because I've not been ill, so I haven't needed to contact them per se. But anyway, you phone in your prescription, and the wee message has always said 2 days your prescription will be ready to be picked up. Normally I would have picked it up at surgery, however now you can't do that because you can't get into the surgery, so you have to nominate a chemist of your choice. Now there's quite a high incidence of drug abuse in this area, so do you want to be stepping over the junkies as you go in, or because I mean obviously the folk that are on the drugs are then put on a methadone programme, and they need to go to the chemist to get the methadone. Right, so you're in a situation where there are 2 chemists local to my GP, but there is absolutely no way you're getting into either of those without there being someone in to get methadone. And quite frankly, I don't like that. I'm sorry, but I don't. So I'm not going in. So we nominated another chemist, which is a wee bit further away. It's a car journey away, and I had to go up there yesterday. And we'd telephoned beforehand, because I was picking up one thing for my husband and my 5 medications. I've got 3 pills that I take in relation to blood pressure and 2 pills for my thyroid. So I had 5 medications to get, and I trailed up to the chemist yesterday. The chemist had a sign on the door saying they were only wanting 2 customers in at a time. And I'll give them their due, they've moved quite quickly in terms of employing a guard in front of where the lassie stands, so that, you know, physically there is a perspex barrier between you and her, which is fine, protects her, protects me, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, I arrived just in time for 2 folk to get in front of me, so I had to queue outside, and it was absolutely blowing a gale. I'm nearly blown off my feet up there because you're quite elevated. Anyway, the folk come out and I get in, and they had hand wash. Yay! And no shower gel, because I couldn't get shower gel the other day either. Yay! So maximum 2 purchases of hand wash. So I says to Lassie, I says, if I buy 2 hand washes, can I buy a shower gel as well, or is that my soap equivalent? And she says, no, you can get your hand wash and your shower gel. I says, hi, I says, because my hands are immaculate, but my body's really stinking. I mean, it isn't, but you know what I mean, that's the way it's working. It's when you've got to choose what you can get, you know. So anyway, oh, touch my face, shouldn't do that. My hands are clean, believe you me. God, believe me, my hands are clean. So anyway, I got 2 shower gels, and I got 2 hand washes and a shower gel, and unfortunately, my blood pressure medication, they only had half of it, so it means I've got to go back. I was absolutely raging. I mean, it's not their fault, obviously. The problem is, see this particular blood pressure medication, there's always supply issues with it. Always, even before all this happened, there was a supply issue with it. So I've got to trail up here. I says, when will I come back? And she says, we might try Monday afternoon. And I thought, gee, thanks, I can hardly wait. So it means I'll need to go up to the chemist on Monday. Not looking forward to it. I genuinely don't want to go out. And I mean, most of the time, my anxiety and depression, I never want to go out. See when they said, stay in, I was like, yeah, beauty. I've never been happier at the thought of having to stay in. So going out I find really traumatic because I'm just convinced that all I've got to do is walk down the street and I'm going to catch something. And not only am I going to catch it, I'm going to bring it back and kill my husband and my brother, because obviously one of them's over 70 and the other one's vulnerable health-wise. It's a tense time, and I've been worried sick, and I dare say I'm not the only one. There must be hundreds of folk that are absolutely paranoid, but you know, for everyone else that's paranoid, there are idiots out there, and it's them that are putting us at risk. I had swapped phone numbers with a woman lives along the road, because obviously there comes the point that if anything were to happen and we had to physically self-isolate and not go out because one of us was ill, I have no way of getting foods and medications into this house. So she is in the same situation. It's her and her husband, and he's vulnerable. So I'd met her one day when we were out dog walking, and I'd happened to say to her, by the way, I said, see if anything happens, do you have anybody to contact? And she says, well, she says, I could call my daughter, but my daughter's nowhere anywhere near. She'd have a bit of a journey to get to me. And it was her that suggested, she says, when you go back to the house, she says, write your phone number down in a bit of paper and come along and drop it through my letterbox, and I'll text you back my number, and that way we can look after each other if it comes to the bit. And I sent her a text the other day just to say, how you doing? You know, we're still okay, is everything alright? And I says, I don't know about you, I says, but when I have went out with the dog, I'm seeing folk I've never seen in my life out walking dogs. And I mean, let's face it, I've been walking Daisy for a couple of years, and I go roughly the same time at lunchtime every day. I'm seeing hundreds of folk with dogs, and they walk straight at you. They don't seem to think, no, I'll veer off because we're meant to keep 2 metres apart. No, head straight towards you. So I swear to God, I'm zigzagging across the road like you wouldn't believe, trying to avoid folk. But that was because we got a couple of days of really nice weather, and by really nice I mean sunshine. It was absolutely freezing, but the sun was shining, and we don't get a lot of sunshine here. So I think it's been raining the past couple of days, not heavy, but it's been raining, and it's amazing. You go out with the dog and you don't see anybody. There's nobody out there. But there's an awful lot of folk hammering and banging as if they're doing tons of home repairs. Plus I think there is literally a couple of folk in the street that I walk along that are got tradesmen in that shouldn't be in, but no my business, just keep away from them. Anyway, gripey. So we're coping. It's been difficult and it's been awkward, and it's it's a bit of a first world problem in some respects. Well, your adjustment to it's a first world problem, because you know, let's face it, there are folk in this world that are starving to death, and we're griping about not being able to get a toilet roll. In the grand scheme of things, it's a bit of an inconvenience, but it can be dealt with. Do you know what I mean? There are bigger issues than getting stuff. It's just awkward that it's putting you at risk to go out and get stuff. But there's absolutely no way under the sun. Hold on, I'm going to stop the video a minute. Right, sorry. There's no way you can get what do you call it? A supermarket, you know, actually order it online, because I don't know how. It's not the sort of thing I'd ever wanted to, because quite frankly I never trusted anybody to buy my stuff and look at the use by dates and make sure that there was a good shelf life in the stuff I was getting. So I've never trusted them and I've never done it. But now that I'm in a position where I'm thinking I really need to rely on this, I can't get it. Because you just can't get onto any of their websites, and if you do get onto their websites, you can't for love nor money book anything. A couple of the supermarkets, Morrison's are doing it, and Marks and Spencer's, which technically isn't a food shop, it sells clothes and things, but obviously Marks and Spencer's does sell some foods, but quite expensive. They do a box that you can order. You don't know what's in the box until it shows up, but they give you stuff that basically should be enough to let you get through a week. But the thing is, it's aimed at single people. The Morrison's one, I don't know what they do, a vegetarian one, and they do a meat eater's box, and I think it's 35 quid or 30 quid, I'm not sure, plus a £5 delivery. And the reason they're doing these boxes is they're getting them delivered by DPD as opposed to being delivered by the shop themselves. So because DPD are doing it, DPD, which is a kind of haulage firm if you like, DPD are much more reliable at being able to agree to do next day delivery. And I've seen some stuff about both boxes. Marks and Spencer's, I don't know what they were thinking, but there's like bars of chocolate in it. You're not going to look, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like a bar of chocolate, right? But you can't sit down at night and say what's for dinner. Oh, we've got chocolate and chips. You know, you can't sit and eat it. That's my washing machine done. So as you know, the Marks and Spencer's one's a wee bit highfalutin and not really worth the money, I don't think, unless you really like chocolate. The Morrison's one, the meat box, is to all intents and purposes quite good. I think you get some like 3 chicken breasts in it and a portion of minced beef and a variety of different cooking sauces, some rice, some pasta, potatoes, milk, bread, stuff that you would use, you know, stuff that is practical to you. Speaking of practical, God, this is rambling on here, sorry, I don't mean that. I think I've just been, because I've not been had anything to talk to, I'm just going to wait till you hear this. There's been a couple of different TV chefs that have done that, like, what can you make from your store cupboard? And it's, as my son says, when they start the conversation with, when you go to your pantry. Now, pantry is a phrase that's used by people who have money, right? Most of us here in Scotland don't have a pantry. We've maybe got a cupboard, right? A pantry obviously is a walk-in arrangement where you're keeping all your food. But I watched somebody the other day, who was it, John Terode, and he had went to his pantry and he produced a jar of olives and a jar of capers. Now, I don't like olives. I don't really like capers. Why would I have a jar of olives and a jar of capers in my house? You know, it's not really the sort of thing that you have in your house. I can't imagine any reason, unless you regularly ate olives and capers. Why would you have olives and capers in your house? Jamie Oliver, he's another one that, you know, can rustle you up a pizza. And I can't remember, he made something the other night, and I remember thinking when I caught it on YouTube. I didn't actually watch his programme, but I remember thinking, who would have these kind of things in their house? I mean, when he starts a recipe, he'll tell you, you know, if you've got any Madagascan vanilla, vanilla. You can't even get a bag of flour here at the moment. Flour is one of these things that you can't get, right? Which is fair enough, because I don't bake anymore, so I wouldn't have had a stored cupboard supply of flour. Obviously you're in the position when you start panicking and thinking, God, I could maybe make a loaf if need be. Oh no, wait a minute, I've no flour. And you go down the shops and there's no flour. So you still can't make in, and even if there was flour, there's no yeast, so you can't make in, unless you're making a sourdough, of course. Oh, honestly, I have watched so much crap about folk making things out of nothing, and the nothing that they're making it out of is stuff you would not have in your house unless you really were on another planet, quite frankly. The one good thing I did come across was there's a young lassie who is known as the bootstrap, I think she's called the bootstrap cook. I can't remember what her actual name is. But this is a young lassie who has she's been through poverty and knows the script in terms of what it's really like to struggle. And she's got a book called The Tin Can Cook, and it is effectively how to make something fairly pleasant out of a couple of cans of food. You know, so she will take something like a tin of chickpeas and a tin of tomatoes and, you know, rustle it into some sort of curry or whatever. So it's, you know, something that you maybe do have in your house. But of course there's no point in buying a book now, because it would mean that I would need to get a parcel to my door, and when you get a parcel to your door you've got to fumigate it in case you catch anything of it. That's another thing. I know personally I'm not making anything now, right? There's absolutely no point, because I will not go to a post office to post anything, and I can't help but think I don't particularly enjoy getting mail, because I think that postman where's he been, who's he touched, you know, is the letter okay, has it come through the system and not got anything on it? So, you know, okay, it's maybe all paranoia on my part, but as far as I'm concerned, I've got somebody in the house that's vulnerable, and I don't want to lose them, so I am not going to take the chances. So, you know, I'm not keen on I'm not going to do any online shopping just now if I can avoid it. I'm taking as much responsibility for myself as I can, in terms of, honestly, my hands are red raw washing. They always, you know, I mean, I always was a bit fastidious about the washing, but I really am at the moment. And it's not fun. It really isn't fun. But you know, just what you've got to do to keep yourself going is, you know, there are folk out there that are a lot worse off than you. There apparently there is apparently an awful lot of folk that are a hell of a lot better off than me. If I see one more celebrity dancing, singing, appearing in their house and putting one of these really patronising videos on YouTube or Twitter or, oh, it's no Facebook because I don't watch that anymore, but they always, you know, hi, I'm self-isolating here at my ranch. You know, is that kind of set up? There was a bit on the BBC yesterday, folk that were in a high-rise flat, that have to share, they've got a communal washroom in terms of, you know, the washing machines for the building, and obviously nobody wants to go down and use the washing machine for fear of somebody else being in the room at the same time as you. Even if there's no somebody in the room at the same time as you, somebody touched something that you're then having to touch to get your washing in the machine, and it's, you know, that's struggling. Do you know what I mean? The fact that we're sitting here and we did technically, we've all got a room we could sit in if we needed to. We've got 2 toilets, it's 4 years, so you know, it's not a major imposition. But there are some folk that are really struggling, and this is showing up the great financial divide in society. And plus it's the fact that when you hear about a celebrity, shall we say, and I'm doing the inverted commas thing here, right, celebrity that's tested positive, the only reason they've tested positive is they've paid to have a test, whereas the rest of us are, you know, I know in this country you're told to sit in the house for a week if you're not feeling well, and everybody that's your family and friends is to sit in for a fortnight, because you could be infected at any point during the course of that week, if not before. So you sit in for a fortnight in the hope that you're okay, but you're not tested. Who knows? And I've got to laugh, they did say at the beginning in Scotland that they reckoned that the actual the virus was much wider spread than they were aware of, and that's only because they've not been in a position financially to test anybody. So they only test the folk that end up seriously ill in hospital, and I believe they're now started testing NHS workers. The only reason they're testing the NHS workers is because so many of them have had to self-isolate because they're not feeling well. So, you know, they've got to check whether or not they're actually ill, and if they're ill, then fair enough, they know when they'll be better and they can go back to work and save all the other poor folk that are dying. So I feel really quite sorry for them. I feel really sorry for the folk that go to work in the supermarkets. I feel really sorry for the folk that go to deliver mail, and the DPD drivers and the likes. I feel sorry for all the folk that are obviously dicing with death on a daily basis for the rest of us. You know, they're keeping everything going, and they all deserve the old round of applause. We have where we round of applause for the NHS every Thursday night at 8 o'clock, and that's fair enough, but I think there's a lot of other folk that really deserve a round of applause for keeping going, because they're doing the best to actually keep everything on an even keel. And as on a closing note, because I've rambled for enough, I read a comment the other day for somebody, I don't even know who it was, but the comment was, you can rebuild an economy, but we can't bring people back to life. And that is it. So when you're sitting worried about your shares, just try and bear in mind that, you know, come the end of this, I'll guarantee the economy will boom, because it always does following wars, and this technically is a war, albeit a war against germs. So, you know, economies will be rebuilt. Unfortunately, there will be a number of us missing, and we can't get those folk back. There's nothing you can do about that. It's just a sad fact. Oh gosh, that's a downer to end on. So anyway, I hope things are a wee bit better. Well, it's not so much like, well, I hope they are better wherever you are. I hope you're coping with what's getting thrown at you, and you're managing alright, and we will get through it in one way or another. Hopefully everything will be okay eventually. I mean, I don't know, a couple of months down the line, with any luck, things will be considerably better than they are. It's just quite irritating that you find yourself in a situation where, because as far as I'm aware, vaccines against viruses, there's not a lot of money in it, and that's why there isn't a lot of research done until the poop hits the fan, and the poop has truly hit the fan this time. It's kind of like Ebola. When Ebola happened a few years back there, I think Ebola only really became an issue when they discovered white folk could get it. Well, you know, the rotten thing is, see this coronavirus, we can all get that. White, black, whatever, we can all get it. And in that respect, as a global community, we should be working on these things. Somebody somewhere, even if it's this, I mean, I'm not entirely sure what the World Health Organisation do, but I would have thought they would coordinate some chemists and try and start doing some real virus research, because I don't want this ever again in my life. You know, something like this, because obviously COVID-19 will ultimately be wiped out in one way or another, but it's going to take a while for it to happen. And what happens when you get COVID-23 in a few years' time? So, you know, if they actually just stopped and thought, oh hey, wait a minute, this hasn't worked out very well, let's try and start working on these things. You know, things might be better. But it's money, it's always money, and it's shown up, it's separated the rich from the poor in many respects, this, because the folk you hear about dying are generally speaking the rich ones, are the celebrities, and I'm using the term celebrity very loosely, by the way, because some of them are not that famous, but they're obviously folk that, because they've had a degree of fame at some point in the past, everybody knows their name. So that kind of humanises it for the rest of us, but it shouldn't need to be humanised. We should accept that there is a terrible disease out there, and we all need to do our part to try and eradicate it. And if it helps to eradicate it by us washing our hands like you wouldn't believe, and staying apart from each other, then that's a small price to pay as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, gripey, there's a Moira's moans. Hope you're all okay. Stay as safe as you can. Don't take any chances, because we can't rebuild you if you know, poop happens. we can't do anything. So stay safe and keep apart from folk and wash your hands, especially after you've watched this video, because you don't know what you're going to catch off of me. Right, I'll see you again, hopefully when things are a wee bit better. Bye.